The air was filled with laughter, music, and the soft scent of roses. Everything felt perfect, almost dreamlike. The golden lights shimmered against the white drapes, and there she stood, the bride, glowing in her satin gown, clutching her bouquet with trembling hands. Today was supposed to be her forever. But forever ended before it even began. Her heart skipped a beat, not out of joy, but disbelief, as her eyes caught sight of something she could never unsee. There, just a few steps away, stood her bride, her love, holding hands with another woman. The world seemed to tilt, the music faded into a haunting silence, and the warmth around her turned cold. The petals she had dreamed of walking upon now lay crushed beneath her trembling feet, scattered like the pieces of her trust. She wanted to scream, to run, to ask why, but her lips quivered and no sound escaped. In that moment, the sky above seemed to mourn with her, turning from gold to gray, mirroring the storm within her. Every memory they built together flashed before her eyes, the laughter, the promises, the whispered forevers. All of it now felt like a cruel joke, a beautiful lie wrapped in vows that meant nothing. She stood still, tears glistening against her cheeks, her heart breaking quietly in the middle of the crowd that had once cheered for love. And as the first drop of rain touched her face, she realized, sometimes, love doesn't end with a goodbye. Sometimes, it ends in silence, in shock, in the moment you watch the person you were about to call mine choose someone else instead. The day her bride betrayed her, was the day her world stopped turning. The silence in the room was almost unbearable, thick with tension and unspoken emotions. Behind the sleek glass walls, the city shimmered in gold and blue, a cruel reminder that life outside still sparkled, even when hers had just fallen apart. She stood there, the betrayed bride, eyes red, fingers trembling slightly as she faced the one woman she'd never expected to see again. Across the polished desk sat the CEO, a vision of control and power in her black tailored suit, lips curved into a knowing smirk. "You look different," the CEO said softly, voice calm but piercing. "Guess betrayal does that to a person." The words hit harder than she wanted to admit. For years, they had circled each other, rivals in every sense, separated by pride and something deeper neither dared to name. Yet today, fate had woven their paths back together. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice cracking, the weight of heartbreak evident in every syllable. The CEO rose, walked closer, and for a moment, their eyes met, pain meeting pride, hurt meeting desire. "I want you to work for me," came the quiet reply. Shock flickered across her face. "Of all people, why her?" "Because," the CEO added, her voice dropping, "you were her choice. And now, I want to see if you can be mine." It wasn't just an offer, it was a challenge, a spark, a dangerous invitation into a world where power and emotion blurred. The bride's heart raced. Between vengeance and vulnerability, she took a breath and whispered, "Fine. I'll say yes." The city lights seemed to shimmer brighter, as if destiny itself had just leaned closer to watch what would unfold next. The air between them felt heavier than the paper on the table. Two women, strangers in everything but fate, sat across from each other, their eyes locked in silent defiance. The faint scratch of a pen was the only sound breaking through the tension. Her diamond ring glimmered under the golden light as she hesitated, fingers trembling just slightly before she signed her name. Across from her, the other woman, calm, composed, unreadable, slid the contract forward, her confidence like armor. "Once you sign this," she whispered, "there's no turning back." The words weren't a threat. They were a promise, of something neither of them could yet name. The ink bled into the paper, sealing more than just a business deal. It tied two hearts, unwilling and uncertain, into something deeper than reason. One signed out of desperation, to protect everything she thought she was about to lose. The other, out of revenge, or maybe curiosity about the fire in the eyes of the woman sitting before her. And in that quiet, fragile moment, both forgot that contracts come with consequences. As their eyes met again, something shifted. It wasn't love, not yet, but an ache, a pull, a dangerous curiosity that felt too close to destiny. Neither spoke as the papers were folded and the distance between them grew smaller, not wider. That signature, that single act of surrender, would become the beginning of everything, the breaking, the healing, the truth they'd been running from. Because sometimes, love doesn't arrive with roses and vows. Sometimes, it begins with ink, and a deal that changes everything. The rain poured endlessly, painting the city in hues of blue and pink as the neon lights danced across the wet pavement. They stood side by side, two souls once bound by betrayal, now trapped in silence that spoke louder than any words could. The CEO's tailored coat clung to him, soaked through, yet he made no move to leave. And she, the woman he once despised for a sin she never truly committed, stared at the reflections on the ground, reflections of what they used to be, and what they might become. Her heart still ached from the accusations, from the bitterness that had once burned in his eyes every time he looked at her. But tonight, something was different. His anger had softened, his voice trembled when he finally spoke her name, not with hate, but with something that felt dangerously close to regret. The rain became a rhythm, a quiet confession between them, washing away the distance that years of pain had built. For the first time, he saw her not as a reminder of betrayal, but as a woman who had survived it all with grace. And she saw him, not as the man who destroyed her, but as the man who was finally breaking under the weight of his own guilt. Between them hung an unspoken truth, fragile yet real. Sometimes hate isn't the opposite of love, it's just love, bruised and misdirected. As thunder rolled above, she looked at him, tears blending with the rain. "You never really knew me," she whispered. He smiled faintly, the kind that carries both apology and hope. "Maybe," he said softly, "it's time I finally do." And in that moment, the storm outside wasn't nearly as powerful as the one within. The sun dipped low, painting the room in a soft golden haze that seemed almost too tender for what they had endured. For a long moment, neither spoke. One stood trembling, her eyes glistening, not from sorrow anymore, but from the weight finally lifting. The other reached out, her fingers brushing away the tears she once caused. In that simple, fragile touch, the silence broke, and so did the walls they had built around their hearts. It wasn't easy to stand this close again. Too many words left unsaid, too many nights replaying what went wrong. But now, as their eyes met, the truth shimmered quietly between them. It was never really betrayal, it was fear, confusion, timing, and love tangled in all the wrong ways. They had both lost themselves in trying to protect what they thought love should look like, forgetting that love, real love, doesn't demand perfection, it just asks for honesty. The golden light wrapped around them like forgiveness. The air felt different, warmer, softer, kinder. She smiled through her tears, realizing that maybe everything that broke them was leading here, to this moment of clarity. Maybe fate had been cruel only to be kind in the end. "I never stopped loving you," she whispered, and the other smiled, that same smile that once lit up her world. This time, it wasn't about starting over or pretending the past never happened. It was about understanding it, embracing it, and choosing to stay anyway. And in that realization, that love, even when cracked, could still shine, they finally understood. It was never betrayal. It was fate's way of bringing them back home.